Right guys, what is going on? The BusterBarnes here, bringing you my match review slash recap of Chelsea's 0-0 draw against Tottenham at home, in which Tottenham did go to the top of the Premier League table on goal difference. We couldn't quite get the job done, but I will be going through the entire match, plus giving you guys my player ratings and adding all these scores up to our player of the season point scoring system as well. So do stay tuned for that. If you enjoy these reviews, please be sure to leave a like and comment down below your player ratings and just what you thought of the game in general. And as always, be sure to subscribe for more Chelsea FC content. But getting on to how the game actually did go, and I was actually quietly a little bit confident when I did see the lineups. I thought our 4-3-3 and I sort of matched our team up to Tottenham's. They maybe didn't have a strong defence like we did. I was thinking that potentially we could scrape a result here, but considering Tottenham's form, I actually thought they were going to go for it a bit more. But it was clear how Mourinho did set up, and that was to sit back, sit deep, and then try and hit us on the counter, which did happen a few times in the first half. Spurs actually did look quite dangerous on the break. We did actually have a goal disallowed very early on when Timo Werner ran in behind, got the ball, cut him really nice on his left foot, and the finish was really good off the post and in, a cross goal across Hugo Lloris, and there was no chance he was saving that, but VAR did show it was offside, and it was offside to be fair, so a little bit frustrating. It does seem that someone like Werner with his pace is going to be offside a lot in seasons and games to come, but I mean, the finish was great and it was just a little bit unfortunate. The rest of the half, we really didn't have that many great chances. Just mainly trying to force the ball into the box. Tottenham were really sitting back, making it hard for us to break through, so we were really just relying on crosses from Reece James and Ziyech, which weren't really coming off in the first half, so yeah, it was quite comfortable to defend from Tottenham, and they did look a bit dangerous in the counter-attack. Mendy had to make a save, not like necessarily a spectacular, amazing save, but still a save nevertheless. I believe from Ndombele, who actually I thought had quite a good game, at least in the first half when he was playing. But yeah, first half, nothing really to write home about. Going into the second half, and it was a fair bit more exciting despite no goals being scored. And I do have to say that we probably should have definitely scored at least one goal in this half. There were some really nice crosses, especially a really nice first time cross from Reece James from the right, and it just glances past Abraham's head. I think he was trying to guide it into the goal. He didn't really need to put power on it, but he just missed it slightly, and I think the Tottenham defenders did do well to sort of put him off and get in his way, as I don't think it was necessarily super easy for him, but he had like another two opportunities. I think there was a cross from Ziyech, maybe from the other side as well, where he did sort of get his head and his feet on it, and you're just hoping that he would finish one of those chances, but it just didn't happen. Spurs were pretty much non-existent going forward in the second half. He really closed down their counter-attacks. There was one maybe sketchy moment, or maybe two sort of kind of sketchy moments where Kante and I believe Zuma as well did give the ball away or had a little bit of miscommunication. But besides that, Tottenham are pretty quiet. Harry Kane very quiet as well. Son very quiet. I mean, our defence really had a good day out against the Spurs attackers, but unfortunately our attackers could not say the same. And yeah, it was unfortunately a 0-0 score. Mason Mount actually, as well as I remember, had a very good shot from outside the box, but it was swerving, and Lloris was forced a good save as well. Pulisic, Giroud and Havertz all came on. Pulisic showed some good energy and was getting in good positions, but I think by this point, some of our play, like Ziyech, had a very up and down game. I thought he delivered some good balls, but there was also a lot of sloppy passes and balls where he gave away the ball or the cross wasn't quite right, so I don't think it was his best performance. And Giroud, he didn't really, maybe you could argue he didn't have enough time, maybe Lampard should have brought him on later, but Abraham did do his job. He was mobile, he did defend well, so I can see what Lampard was maybe trying to do. And Giroud, whilst he had a decent opportunity at the end when Rodon, I believe, gave away the ball, he unfortunately couldn't put that away either. Havertz came on, but it was pretty much game done and dusted. We all knew it was going to be 0-0 by that point, which is a shame. It would have been nice to get the win, especially at home. Obviously, we won this game last season, so it's not quite an improvement on our results. So a bit of a shame, but I mean, at the end of the day, still seeing Chelsea keep some clean sheets is good. I think at the start of the season, if we did face Tottenham, no one would have even predicted we get a clean sheet. So I think that is still a positive to take. Obviously, going into Sevilla, very important Champions League group game in midweek. Hopefully we can clean up some of our attacking threats. Maybe Havertz will be fit to start that game. Maybe Pulisic will get a bit more of a run out, as I think our attack's good, but Abraham just had an off day, and Werner, whilst he has a goal threat, isn't necessarily the best on the wing. Obviously, Kovacic, Mount and Kante isn't the most attacking midfield either. Havertz would have been maybe quite nice to have played a bit earlier and maybe tried to break in between the lines, but he might have not been fit, so can't really blame anyone for that. But yeah, that is going to be my little overview of the game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Right, so getting into my player ratings, guys, and as you know, if we keep a clean sheet, I am going to be giving all of the defenders at least a 7 rating. Starting off with Eduard Mendy, who is going to get a 7. Maybe could have bumped it up to 7.5, but I think we're getting to this point now where the saves that he's making are, fairly standard saves. They're decent saves, but they're standard ones. We can't just keep, I guess, boosting his rating up because of how good he is compared to Kepa or Caballero. He's been around a bit now. We expect him to sort of make these sorts of saves. I think he got Kante out of a bit of bother as well when they did have that little lapse in communication. Caught some crosses, thought it was decent, but 7's what I'm going to give him. A pretty standard goalkeeper performance, I do have to say. Tottenham didn't test him that much. Getting on to the back four, Ben Chilwell is going to get a 7 out of 10. Again, a decent performance defensively. I didn't think he necessarily added loads, and this was another aspect of the game. In the first half especially, him and Reece James weren't really getting forward. It was a very cautious approach, and I think that's mainly because Lampard knew that if we conceded first, it would be a very, very difficult game to not only score one, but to try and win the game. So we were very cautious not to concede first against this Tottenham side, which is why the fullbacks were maybe a little bit reserved and cautious. But I have seen Chilwell be a bit cautious before, so I'm going to give him a 7 for the clean sheet, but didn't necessarily add loads going forward. Going on to the centre-backs, Thiago Silva's going to get a 7.5, Zuma's going to get a 7. Reason I'm bumping up Thiago Silva's a little bit is just because I think, again, he was very composed, dealt with the Tottenham attacking line very well, some good leadership moments, some good interceptions. He just looks so experienced. You can tell how experienced he is by some of the passes he cuts out and some of the crosses. Just he's in a position that you wouldn't even think of a defender being in. Zuma's going to get a 7 because he did make that little mistake right at the end of the game, which could have been costly, but luckily wasn't. But it was still a decent display from him. He still looked a threat from corners, so I'd say he did well. But Reece James on the right is going to get an 8 out of 10. I personally just thought he was one of our best players today. I think he's been consistently putting in class performances. His cross that he put into Abraham should have been finished. He might have put in one of the other crosses as well. I just can't quite remember. But I think defensively he dealt with Harry Kane really well in set pieces. Dealt with Son really well, who was on his side. I just think it's a very senior, experienced performance from Reece James. And for someone his age, it is pretty crazy how good he is or has been so far. So yeah, an 8 out of 10 for him. I maybe could have actually given him a bit higher, maybe an 8.5, but an 8 is what I'm going to go for. Kante is going to get a 7.5. Maybe we've got an 8, but there was obviously that little mistake in communication. I do think he actually linked up quite well with play. He was doing some nice dribbles, getting around players, and also progressing the ball, which I thought was nice. So yeah, I thought he did defensively a decent job as well. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 times our midfield got broke through. I would say that when Tottenham did have their first few counter-attacks in the first half, they were very precise and very good with their passes, so can't necessarily just put that down to bad defending, more so good attacking from Spurs. But obviously we completely shut them down in the second half, and you've got to give all of the defenders, including Kante, credit for that. Mason Mount's going to get a 7. He does lead the press. He did have a good shot come away and did actually get away for some players quite well. But yeah, I thought it was just a very, standard performance, one that you expect from Mason Mount. It wasn't bad by any means. It was still pretty decent. And yeah, still made his tackles, did do a few nice moves. Kovacic, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. I think he got man of the match on Twitter from Chelsea. I don't know if he was necessarily our best player on the day. However, he was very good, didn't make his tackles. Him and Ndombele had a great battle. I do like seeing him progress a bit more. He is making more runs forward. Now, I'm not necessarily fully confident with him when he's got the ball forward, but I think he was getting away from defenders or from even Tottenham attackers pressing him very well. Just his dribbling is just immaculate, we all know this. And yeah, he was getting out of a lot of sticky situations quickly and did his defensive job well. So I think I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Going into the front line, obviously where things were a bit more disappointing, I'm going to give Hakim Ziyech a 6. I think it was a standard game from him. As you guys know, 6 is like the based okay rating for these ratings. I think he did show some good creative, knowledge, but I think he did give away the ball quite a few times. He was maybe one of his more sloppier games this season, which is a bit of a shame. You are sort of maybe relying on him a bit more out of everyone to sort of create chances when we do come up against deep sitting teams. I do think Havertz was a bit of a miss this game, to be fair, even though our midfield did do well. But yeah, Ziyech, it just maybe got a little bit too predictable with the crosses from his left foot. I do think some of them paid off, but a lot of them didn't. So yeah, sort of a base rating from him. I think his defensive work was decent, but yeah, can't really give him more than a 6. Werner, I'm going to give a 5.5. Just didn't really see much from him. I think he made some good runs, and I do think there's still the element of chemistry building between Werner and the team, where they need to maybe spot him a bit soon, because he gets into great positions and makes great runs. He obviously did score a goal. He had the ball in the back of the net, but it was offside, so I can't really count that too much. But yeah, didn't necessarily add loads. Maybe it was, didn't get the ball from crosses. You can't really expect him to. I just don't think the wing is his position, which is why I've maybe been giving him these lower ratings, just because he's not a winger. I'm not too sure what's going to happen in the future. When Pulisic's back, he's going to move to striker. I think that's probably what is most likely going to happen. And yeah, he's going to get a 5.5 from me. Tammy Abraham finally in the starting 11 is going to get a 5 out of 10. Look, I think some people have been harsh on ragging on him. I'm seeing some people being very harsh as well. The way that fans sometimes turn on Tammy is very strange. Like, he'll have a great game, everyone will praise him. Then he'll have one bad game and everyone will say he needs to leave, he's not good enough. I think it's absolutely crazy, some of the stuff that I'm seeing. I don't think he necessarily performed badly, in the sense that I think he was still a very big figure in defending set pieces. I think he was mobile. I think he was getting into good positions. There was a very unlucky moment actually as well, where he got the ball away from a Tottenham defender, but unfortunately the touch was a bit too heavy. I do think that he should have put one of the balls away. He had 3 decent chances. He should have scored at least one of them. Yes, so I mean, I have to mark him down on that, but because I still think his overall play was good, and obviously he's always been improving on that, I am going to give him a 5, but you can't excuse the fact that he didn't put the ball in the net. He really just should have, and I think he knows that. We all know that how hard Tammy is on himself, and I do think he's going to come back from this better. So yeah, I think some people have been a bit harsh on him. I think criticism is fair, but let's keep it a criticism and not just slander, if you guys know what I mean. Going on to the bench, I'm going to give all 3 of them a 6 out of 10. Pulisic, you might be able to argue, gets a 6.5 because he brought some energy, but I wouldn't say he necessarily added loads. I think the team sort of fell a bit flat at this period when the subs were made. Giroud, again, had one sort of decent opportunity that was made for him from the defence of Tottenham, and didn't put it away. Havertz didn't really have that much time to really add that much. So those are going to be my ratings. Let me know your guys in the comments below. If I'm going to get onto my player of the season point scoring system, where I'll give one player 1.1, 2 points and 1 3 points, I am actually going to stick by that. Sometimes you see me give 2 players a point, or you see me not give anyone 3 points. I actually am going to stick by the 1 per score method. 1 point is going to go to Thiago Silva. Could have gone to him or Kante, but I think Thiago Silva just looked that little bit more composed, especially when maybe we made 1 or 2 errors. He was there. Kante obviously part of a bit of an error of communication, so I think that's just what edged Thiago Silva on the 1 point for me. 2 points are actually going to go to Mateo Kovacic. I know we got man of the match, but there was only really one player that I did notice throughout the entire game that I thought was brilliant. However, I can't excuse, how he did. He gets the 2 points. Again, like I said, just being very fluid, getting the ball away from his opponents very well. And I do think his game is developing a bit, which is nice to see. But all 3 points for me, and I'm amazed that this guy didn't actually get man of the match. I'm not saying that other players were bad, but I just can't believe that Reece James did not get the man of the match. I think he deserves all 3 points. He was the player that I noticed. He had Son and Kane pretty much down to lock in terms of set pieces and just against them in open play. He delivered some really good crosses as well, especially in the second half. He was getting forwards, bombing forward. I think he's definitely the more exciting fullback out of him and Chilwell. Maybe that's controversial, but I think Reece James is definitely maybe a bit of a better all-rounder. And I just think he's showing yet another quality, experienced performance for someone his age. And yeah, I think all 3, him, Kovacic and Thiago Silva, were sort of the top 3 players in terms of man of the match potential. But yeah, I'd give it to Reece James. Maybe you guys disagree with me. If you do, let me know in the comments below. But I thought he was absolutely brilliant. So he's going to get all 3 points from me. And if you look at the scores of the player of the season point scoring system on the screen now, you will see that he is just edging it now on top with 12 points. Obviously, there are still so many games to go, so this could all completely change. Kovacic getting his first points on the board. Maybe we'll see him rise up and end up being top one day. Who knows? Not me, that is for sure, but let me know how you guys would rank our players in this game as well in the comments below. Please make sure to, as always, leave a like if you enjoyed this video. My preview for this Chelsea trip to Sevilla will be out before the game does start, so do stay tuned for that and subscribe so you do not miss an episode of these Chelsea previews and reviews. I also do Fantasy Premier League videos and FIFA 21 content as well, as we're just wrapping up our Season 2 of the West Ham career mode. Please be sure to check that out if you haven't, and stay tuned for Season 3 also. I hope you all do have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.